How is everybody doing? Positive and productive, I hope. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with me. Just really quickly, I want to give you guys a little bit of the State of the Union address where Donald Trump addressed all the members of Congress, and he gives them instruction to do. But the point that I want to showcase with you guys, number one, I want to let you guys see the amount of, not just the amount of cheers and applause that Donald Trump gets, one, how long it goes on for, and then two, when he tries to get to his follow-up question, becomes a heated debate between him and Ilhan Omar as he's trying to deliver his speech. And then maybe we'll talk about this just a little bit more in depth and detail. So, ladies and gentlemen, really quick.
I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, that was powerful. That was extremely powerful for more reasons than maybe what you might understand. Number one, they're showing their overwhelming support that the United States government's first main position is to protect United States citizens. This is the overall unanimous support for this. And it furthers the point with when we look at how Donald Trump won, what he ran on trail. And if we look at that key battleground states, or swing states, if you will, were actually flipped red. States that haven't voted red in maybe 10 years, 15, 20 years, they have flipped red with an overwhelming presence for Donald Trump's second term. So we have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that the majority of United States citizens with that sentiment right there, that the first and primary goal of the United States government is to protect American citizens, not illegal immigrants. And for anybody who opposed these ideas, ladies and gentlemen, that's another conversation, excuse me, that requires a lot more nuance than what we can do in a few segments right here. So I want to continue playing because I want to let you see a little bit of the exchange between Trump and Ilhan Omar.
Be ashamed of yourself, not standing ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country. You should be ashamed of yourself. importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act.
College kids are telling us.
So tonight I'm inviting
And so, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen at the end how many people stood up for the Save America Act. And I don't understand why it is a fringe idea and or a radical approach to say that if you are an American citizen, you need to provide an ID to vote. I don't understand why that gets lost in so much convoluted in racism, bigotry, and various things of this nature. Any adult with the developed prefrontal cortex knows that in society, as an adult, you have to have an ID to do anything in society. When we say poor people who can't afford IDs, well, they needed IDs to get the benefits that we're talking about. How else do they get food stamps and government assistance without identification, ladies and gentlemen? How do you buy a home? How do you get a job? How do you cash a check? How do you get a banking account? Do you do anything in society, ladies and gentlemen, as an adult without an ID? And I don't understand why we're asking that adults should be able to do the most core important thing in the United States, which is exercise your right to vote in a free election. I don't understand why that's a thing, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to make this longer than what it needs to be. I honestly don't. But it was a few other points that I kind of wanted to make for this video, and I honestly lost my train of thought here. But what I will say is this, in closing, what I will say is this. As the country progresses, as we move forward, and people can say, well, we're not progressing, we're regressing, and that can be argued. And here's what I would say. Here's one of the things that I wanted to mention. We can have our critiques of Donald Trump and his stance with Israel, his stance on foreign policy, et cetera, et cetera. We can have those critiques, and I open debates and conversations. I welcome them. But what I don't want to do, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to say from a default position that everything Donald Trump says or does is inherently incorrect. For instance, when Donald Trump told pregnant women that they shouldn't take Tylenol, we saw on TikTok, Instagram, and other social media outlets massive amounts of taking Tylenol, negating the fact that the label from the manufacturer, from Tylenol themselves, say that pregnant women should not take this and that they should consult a physician. So we ignore what the manufacturer says. We're just going to worry about that Donald Trump said don't do it, so therefore I am going to do it. And I think that that's a very dangerous place in society that we live in, that inherently we're just going to do the opposite in contrast. So again, ladies and gentlemen, and one of the last things I want to leave you guys with is this, is that in these so-called sanctuary cities, and most people may know this, or maybe you don't know this. However, when people who are undocumented immigrants or illegal, however you want to phrase that, but when people who are undocumented immigrants are actually convicted of a crime, aside from just being here in the country illegally, we're talking violent crimes, arson, robbery, murder, etc. When those people are in the county jails and or in the prisons, sanctuary cities and states prohibit DHS, ICE, Homeland Security from going into the jails and removing undocumented people who have been convicted of crimes. Maybe you know that, maybe you don't know that. So when you're asking the question of why is ICE in our communities, why are they going to our schools, our churches, our place of work, etc., etc., maybe you should ask yourself the question, why isn't ICE, DHS, and Homeland Security allowed to go and remove undocumented people who have been convicted of crimes? Not who are awaiting trial, not who are pending crimes in criminal prosecution, but people who have been convicted of crimes, arson, rape, murder, robbery, etc., etc. Why aren't they allowed to be removed while in custody? Maybe that's a question you should talk to your representative about. As always, ladies and gentlemen, stay positive. Please stay productive. Remember, local elections are more important than national elections, but dollars are stronger than votes. They won't stop until we stop them. Liberation comes at a cost. Who's willing to pay for it? I was trying to end it and it's not letting me end it, so maybe that's another reason why I need to tell you guys to, if you're still here, put a wave or a purple heart in the algorithm, especially on YouTube. I don't know why, but YouTube really loves purple hearts.